All right. So, what is Disaster Management Act? Basically, it is to coordinate the government effort uh, in preparedness, prevention, response, mitigation, and relief and rehabilitation for adopting a more holistic approach for disaster management is what national NDMA or National Disaster Management Authority is aiming for. Okay, now it has come into an act on 26th December 2005 under the leadership of Prime Minister of the country. So, and there are under this agency, this authority, there are many other agencies which is working. Like they are called nodal agencies, like Ministry, Railway Ministry, Health Ministry. All these are nodal agencies. Even the departments, the government department, like Power Department, Water Department. So, Food and Sanitation Department. All these departments are also part of the nodal agencies which act and help coordinating with preparedness action, prevention, response activities, mitigation, and relief and rehabilitation. All right. Now, Disaster Management Act, as I've told you, was enacted on 26th December 2005, and this was permitted as a state. It has the jurisdiction and the overall authority on the entire country, overseeing the state authorities and the district level authorities. All right, it was passed on by the legislature of the country. Now, the salient features of this disaster management acts are as follows. The act comprises of 79 sections and 11 chapters, which defines disaster, disaster management, and its new concept or approaches towards disaster management. It provides institutional mechanisms for monitoring and implementing of the plan. So whatever the plans which is made by the NDMA, it oversees. Disaster Management Act gives a provision that all these mechanism of various nodal agencies, departments, and ministries are putting their functionary mechanism into places and then implementing it into their plans as well as at the ground level. Okay. Now, it ensures measures by various wings of the government for prevention and mitigation of the disaster. Right now, the state government have been advised to amend their relief codes. Now, there are some relief activities previously before the existence of NDMA. There was a disaster management body which we called National Crisis Management body, which used to oversee all the natural disasters or calamities which used to happen, and under that they had a certain relief codes that which type of disaster requires what type of inventories, relief actions, or how much force is required, and everything else. But with time, things changes, approaches changes. So that approach has to be implemented. That change of approach has to be implemented. Like I've previously in many of the previous classes also have told you that before in our country specifically, when I'm talking about before NDMA had oversees the all disaster activity on our in our country, we had a approach towards natural phenomena or natural calamity was more about a reactive attitude towards the disasters, towards the calamities, right? But post this, with in research and continuous evolution and analysis, we have come to realize that reactive approach of dealing with disaster is not putting us into a more sustainable situation. It is more expensive. It is more. It is falling more. It's not a cost-effective thing. So it is causing a more pressure on the existing structure of the government. So what was implemented? They thought, let's have a more proactive activities to deal with the disasters. So for proactivity, active disaster, they started analyzing what are the various types of hazards that is there in our country. So in previous lecture, yesterday's lecture, I have talked about the various vulnerable risk prone, hazard prone areas in the country, like the entire Trans-Himalayan region is prone to earthquake. Then the entire peninsular coastal region is prone to cyclones and tsunamis. Similarly, the interior plateau region are more prone to drought. The western desert part of our country is prone to drought. Then the entire floodplains of Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra floodplain are very highly prone to flooding, and it is often seen that there are many tributaries of Ganga, they breach their embankments and flood the areas around, causing a lot of loss in agricultural field. So all these analysis were taken in consideration, and then thought about how we can go for an reducing the losses that is happening year after year with the increasing the increased intensity of all these calamities. If you see in past 2 decades or 3 decades back, the intensity of the occurrence of disasters were not very high, but now every year there is a disaster hitting our country very frequently. You may face a drought year, a heavy flood year, and cyclone prone year, or even tsunami can come and hit you. So all these things has to be realized, that we have to work all these calamities in a simultaneous manner. So the Act provides the National Disaster Management Authority a power over seeing these departments, governments, and all the state actors and stakeholders are implementing it into their plans as well as at the ground level. Okay, so the state government shall create state disaster management authority and disaster management authority at the district level. All right. Now there shall be disaster response fund for and fund for at national level, and as well as at a state or district level. So these are the chapters which is there in the National Disaster Management Act. All right. That is the preliminary chapter. There they will give you what are the summary of each chapter. That is the first, the second chapter, that National Disaster Management Authority. They are defining what is National Disaster Management Authority, their role, their area of jurisdictions and activity and action, and then what are the mechanisms how they are functioning. So in the second chapter they are discussing that. Third chapter, they are talking about disaster management authority. There's a state at a state level. So how state with the guidelines of National Disaster Management Authority has provided, under that, how they are implementing in the ground level. District Disaster Management Authority will again supervision of the State Disaster Management Authority, they are functioning, and at the grassroots level they will oversee. So now District Disaster Management Authority may include urban local body and rural administrative body, that is the Panchayati Raj. All right. Now the Panchayati Raj institution will oversee the rural body, that all the disaster management activities are implemented, like taking from mitigation to prevention to response to relief and recovery, or relief and rehabilitation activities are in place, with all the inventories are there, and what are the types of funds and assistance that they require from the district, state, or national level. All right. Now this is described all the district authority, where what are their jurisdiction, what they have to oversee, what is their role, and how they can implement. Okay, so all these chapters are elaborately giving a guideline that how each from taking from the grassroots level to the topmost level should implement the proactive disaster management activities, right? Now, again, we were talking about local authorities, that is the urban local bodies. It can be municipalities, municipal corporation, or cantonment board. So all these are urban local bodies. Similarly, Panchayati Raj being a rural local body, administering rural villages and rural areas. Now, National Institute of Disaster Management. Here in this chapter, in the 7th chapter, they are talking about what is National Institute of Disaster Management. It is a R&D branch of National Disaster Management Authority. Here they have very good technically and by knowledge base, they're very sound, and uh, they have a good idea about the varied disasters. Like somebody is specialized in landslide, somebody is specialized in earthquakes, somebody is specialized in cyclones and other meteorological disasters. So then they make they study, they analyze, they research, they make research, and then there are, if they feel like there are certain drafts which is made in this institution, and then this is passed on to disaster management authorities. Now, disaster management authority, based on the draft which NIDM has provided, they consider it and then they pass it to the National Executive Committee. Okay, National Executive Committee is a political or a legislative body of disaster management. All right. Now, we come to National Disaster Response Force. So there is a body of National Disaster Response Force who oversees what type of disaster require the functioning or the what do you call action. Different disaster will require different type of action. Like forest fire will require a different type of assistance and action plan as compared to a tsunami, right? Because the areas of destruction is different, the element of destruction is different, the element at risk and vulnerability factors are also different. Now, the finance accounts and audit are also taken in consideration, because every state, every district, every state demands for a different financial assistance to deal with their natural hazards that is coming up. Now, defense, sorry, let me move this. Okay. Now, offenses and penalties are also given there in case there is non-followance of any guidelines which has been provided by the NDMA. Then there will be some penalties, or the institution or the individual may be penalized. Okay, like if I talk about mitigation, there's a structural mitigation. For a structural mitigation, there are a few steps that a organization or an individual must take. Like, if for structural, your building must follow a particular code. Then you must that building codes will include that you must have staircase, you must have a ramp area, you must have lifts if it is a high rise building. Then you should have water hydrant placed in every building, and you must have a fire extinguisher. And apart from all these things, you must follow the building codes, like what type of base and structure it is there. There are some places in our country where certain after certain height, you are not supposed to have a building beyond that height. Like in Chandigarh, you cannot build a building beyond a certain height. All right, you do not have a high-rise buildings there. All right, you have a building of about 3-story or 4-story buildings there, not beyond that. So that is a building code for that city. Why? Because it is placed on a in a region where it is highly prone to earthquake, which has which can cause a lot of loss if the building collapses. All right, so there, if you go visit in those cities, you will see building will have a similar structure. Either it will be in rectangular, or it will be a square, or in a L shape, because these are prescribed shape for disaster, earthquake to resistant buildings. All right. Then we have miscellaneous expenses and miscellaneous activities that has to be overseen, like other stakeholders, and what are the roles of the other stakeholders are there in the chapter 11, that they are discussing about miscellaneous activities. uh, just a moment. My slide has stuck. Now, this is the disaster management structure of our country. So, what is there? There's a planning commission, there's a national executive committee, along with National Disaster Management Authority, then cabinet committee on security. Now, this top three committee oversee the proactive pro action that is to be taken for the dealing with disasters, these disasters and others. All right. Now, cabinet committee will include various ministries, for example, health, defense. Then you have uh, agriculture, meteorological uh, ministry. Then you have railway ministry, aviation ministry. All these ministries, even in these ministries will see whether they are working properly or not, and the policies and the uh, standing operating procedure which has been given by the national management are implemented in their planning, in their annual planning, in their long-term planning, right? Then you have Ministry of Home Affairs, which oversees all the home affairs. Then other ministries and departments also oversees that, and assist the NDMA or NIDM to develop their policies and acts to better implementation of disaster management. All right. Then you have state authorities, and similar to that of national authorities, state authorities also have the similar power and jurisdiction, but in their own states. Okay. So under the state authority also you have department, home ministry. Then you have their own ministries, ministerial departments, and then you have home guard defenses like home guard, civil defense, police, fire station, fire services. So they are all assisting branch of the disaster management act in state level. Then at the district level, again, who oversees the district level manage authority? Who is the chairperson of DDMA? If the chairperson of NDMA is Prime Minister of our country, and the chairperson of SDMA, that is State Disaster Management Authority, is Chief Minister, then the DDMA, the District Disaster Management Authority chairperson, is either District Collector or Commissioner. Okay. Now, there are again various departments under them. Home Guard and Civil Defenses and Police is working along this department. Then, apart from all these things, then we have other stakeholders like local bodies, like there can be community or society working for developing their areas, their region, to be more disaster resistant. All right. So community participation is a very important thing in managing the disaster. All right. Now, the vision of NDMA. The National Disaster Management Authority shall have the responsibility of laying down policies, plans, and guidelines for disaster management for ensuring timely and effective response to disaster on both natural and man-made. Okay. Now, coordinate the enforcement and implementation of the policies and plan of the disaster management. The plan, this proves that you have to have a plan, then you have to approve the plan, then you have to coordinate among the various departments and the stakeholders, then you have to monitor whether the plan has been implemented and is coordinated by various departments. and how far you have succeeded in implementing your plan. That is the monitoring part. Then you have to ensure that how much it has been implemented and how much it has been followed up. Okay. Then the next thing is that international assistance and corporations are also seek under the national authority. All right. The vision of national authority is that to build safer and disaster resilient country, India. All right, and aiming for developing a holistic and proactive multi-hazard technology-driven strategy. So there has to be a strategy where we inculcate technology as well as identify multi-hazard zones in this area to deal with the disaster management. All right. Now this will be achieved through a culture of prevention. Until unless we do not have a habit or develop a culture of prevention, mitigation, and preparedness into our generation, then this habit will never develop, and we will not have a smooth running of disaster management. Why? Uh, we should always have a idea of how to prevent a certain accident or certain incident to make anything damage further on. All right, then we should also plan for the mitigating in case there is an accident, in case there is a disaster that has happened. The losses, how will you reduce the loss? Like you're making the structure and non-structural elements more resilient towards a degree of disaster. All right. Now preparedness, you have to be prepared beforehand. So for preparedness, you require mock drills, you require training programs, you require awareness camps, so that people are aware about the multi-hazard characteristics of our region. What are the various suppose you are living in Himachal Pradesh, and in living in Himachal Pradesh, it is prone to forest fire, it is prone to landslide, it is prone to earthquake. So this is a multi-hazard zone. It is also there are some part of Himachal which is also prone to cloud burst. All right, flash floods. So it shows that that region is a multi-hazard zone, and how you will use new technology and techniques to reduce, first of all, prevent it from happening. Then you, if in case it still happens, then how you will reduce the losses, and to be have a preventive and mitigation action plan implemented. You have to be preparing yourself. So how will you prepare yourself? You have to prepare yourself with various inventories that you have to have. You have to have an inventory check. You have to have check on whether all the mock drills and training programs are there or not. All right, and proper guidelines and standing operating procedures are given to them or not. Okay, then promote an efficient response at the time of a disaster. So we have to have a very prompt and efficient response team to deal at the time of the disaster. Until unless you do not have a well trained and well aware response team, people will not be given assistance during the disaster. Like I told you, in the response activity includes relief for action, and second one is, what is the second one? First one is relief, then second one is search and rescue operations, right? So you have to have a search and rescue operation. There will be people who are in a safe areas but still require certain relief activities like medical assistance, food, shelter, and all those things. But you will have some group of people or some individual who will be lost or are not found. So for them, you require search and rescue operations to be implemented. So for that, you need to have a well-trained groups or well-trained organization have to have a well-trained individuals to implement these activities. The entire process will was with the center stage, the community and will be provided a momentum and sustenance through a collective effort by the government agencies and non-government agencies. Like NGOs and government agencies work hand in hand. Like for example, if an area suffers with a flood situation, so there are many NGOs working in those areas. Suppose all the NGOs says ki like we will work for food, providing food and medical assistance to the victims here. So if everybody is providing food and medical assistance, there will be other requirement of the individual or the victims, that they require assistance like legal assistance, okay, or medical assistance, or you require psychological assistance. All these assistance will be required. All the NGOs, if they indulge or focus into one work, then what will happen? The rest of the required attention will not be given. Proper attention will not be given in the rest of the required field. So what happens is that in that situation, we delegate the powers, we delegate activities and action. So government agencies and departments, they know their roles. Like medical departments, they know their role. They have to provide medical assistance. They have to have a proper system of following, how to take in patients, how to assess patients, and how to treat them. Similarly, there will be a electric power department. They will have the role of important role of playing key, where which region has to cut off from the power line, because maybe there is a power line which has broken off and it can cause a electrocution in that region. So they will shut down the power line, and then they will see whether there is an important hospital or not, that they require any power assistance or not. That is a role of a power and electricity department. Similarly, water department and other sanitation department, they all play their role in their domain. Similarly, non-government organizations are also given their roles. Somebody will see food and shelter, somebody will see medicine assistance, somebody will see legal assistance, right? So these are delegated work which is given to the various agencies. Now this is the organization, the National Disaster Management Organization. This is a structure. What happens is, these are the old names. Now the names have changed, the members have changed. All right, but they are these mitigation and preparedness bodies. So similarly, every member will have these roles: disaster management wing, capacity building and communication wing will be there. So each wing will have their own roles. All right, now finance and advisory management wing. What will finance and advisory management wing will see is that will oversee the finance and accounts and audits. So whatever the financial assistance they have given to the state or the district, and then they will take the accounts and audits the entire year. What have you done for prevention and mitigation activities? All right. Then police also, police and plans and policies and plans are also there. Policies, you will see what is the state policy of dealing with the disasters or hazards which is there. Then plans they have taken up for developing and to mitigate the any losses that is going to come due to any disaster. So they will oversee that. And mitigation and preparedness. For mitigation and preparedness, what projects have been formulated for mitigation activities. Preparedness, like for preparedness, what awareness camps you have done, what are like medical camps, awareness camps, road act, all these things are some projects which is given to various organizations. There are also education institutions and industries who participate in developing mitigation and preparedness plannings. Right. And there is an international cooperation coming also, like we have UNDP, United Nations for, what is UNDP? Anyone can tell me? Yes. Sorry. Are you? All of you are here?
Yes, ma'am.
I was not able to see in a slide. Anyway, so similarly, we have Red Cross Society who's working here. UNDP is working here. Then there are other international organizations like Christchurch, Red Cross. All they are working in cooperation with the other government, our government agencies, and at a grassroots level. So every region, like Rajasthan, has their what do you call it? Red Cross Society working for like blood camps and eye checkup camps, and also awareness camps are also there. Now, media and public preparedness are very important. Like media will provide you information, cardinal information at the time of the disaster. And community preparedness and participation is a very important and key aspect to disaster management. All right. Now, I have given you a question bank in LMS. So there's a quiz there. Attempt that quiz, and we will continue this lecture again tomorrow. All right.
Okay.